Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. With the major season 1 update in Black Ops 6, we obviously saw several different weapon updates go out. They adjusted the rifles, the SMGs, several other guns. There were also several glitches going on with the damage values for a bunch of weapons, but a lot of that's been sorted out now, and today I wanted to go through and break down the new top 10 best weapons to be using here in Black Ops 6 multiplayer. So, of course, first thing we got to bring up is our two new weapons. Of course, we got our first in-ear weapons for BO6 MP with the Season 1 Battle Pass, the first of which is the Krig C Assault Rifle, and this thing's honestly pretty competitive. It's an incredibly easy but also very agile rifle that's got really good range at the same time, so it's pretty much checking all the boxes for what a good rifle needs to do and what it needs to be here in the multiplayer style of engagements here. So as far as the overall setup goes here, initially for an optic, it's mostly preference based. Of course, I like the Kepler Microflex a ton. It's basically like your standard red dot. There are some other really good ones too though, so if you have one you prefer more, you like more, always go for that. Go for comfortability over everything with your scopes. I also go for the ported compensator. There is some noticeable recoil on this thing until you have this setup fully out there, but once you level it to this, I'm only at 35 right now, and I have the ideal setup for it already fully out there and available because of the attachment system this year. So ported compensator making things a lot easier with that vertical control and also that first shot control. I also go for the vertical foregrip. This helps out with horizontal control, so gonna make the pattern a lot more predictable, especially as you are fighting out maybe over some longer distances. Just gonna make the weapon a lot easier to use. Balanced stock on here has some great mobility benefits for strafe, both ADS and just natural strafe, general movement, hip fire movement as well, and then recoil springs are making the gun even easier too. So it becomes a laser beam with this setup on here. It already has great range by default, and it stays aggressive at the same time. Fantastic rifle. Now, the Saug is honestly one of my new favorite weapons. Right away when I first started using this SMG, it just felt really, really good. It's got some range to it, surprisingly, but it also just has a quick TTK up close. This blueprint for it that was in the store with the Mastercraft looks absolutely nuts, but even the base version, clean iron sights, like, it's going to be a really reliable SMG. I do run the ported compensator here as well, just straight up better control, of course. Reinforced barrel, some better range and some better velocity, so we're up to a 682 velo, and our range of 13.1 meters for that effective damage range works great for an SMG just outright. Ranger foregrip on here, fantastic choice as well. Better horizontal control, so again the pattern's way more predictable, but also some better movement speed too, so you're going to be more aggressive at the same time. I also go for the ergonomic rear grip, helping out with the ADS speed, the slide to fire, and the dive to fire. We already got a 115 millisecond sprint to fire, so that's fine. I don't feel like you need to use CQB there, whereas with ergonomic we also have a 165 ADS, which is decently quick for an SMG as well. And then lastly, once again, I go for the balanced stock with the strafe movement and hip fire movement benefits there. So this thing is even more aggressive than the base version, also easier to use. Fantastic choice as well. Next up, the XM4 is going to still be one of the more reliable options, more well-rounded options in the entire game. I mean, this thing can do it all. You can play this as an aggressive rifle. You can play this as a steady long-range rifle. Its TTK is going to be phenomenal pretty much regardless of where you're fighting. It's just doing everything you want it to do, right? Initially, again, Kepler Microflex for me. Change this to whatever optic you want if there's one you enjoy more. Ported compensator, yet again, the base compensator would also be a solid choice here as well for what it's worth. I like the Ranger foregrip here. I think this thing has decently easy control. So vertical foregrip is still good, but also you can get away with a little bit less horizontal control, but more sprinting movement speed. So the gun's just even more aggressive and still super easy to use at the same time. That's kind of a win-win in my book. Balanced stock. Again, what a surprise, I know. Can you tell it's the best stock in the game for most play styles? Then also, recoil springs once more. Free control across the board. Already, again, has great range, great TTK across the board, so you're going to be chilling with that. You just need to focus on being accurate, and this setup definitely helps out with that, while also keeping it very agile for a rifle. Another fantastic rifle choice, the AK-74. If you want pure TTK, this is the rifle to use in multiplayer. This thing just shreds. A little bit more difficult than some of the other choices on this list, but with that higher risk comes a higher reward. It's TTK, basically best in class at several different ranges here in multiplayer. It absolutely just rips through enemies when you can keep your shots on target. Again, I've got that Kepler Microflex on here as well. I actually don't opt for a muzzle or a barrel. Instead, I'm going for the vertical foregrip. I absolutely want the most horizontal control here. Want to keep this weapon as steady and as predictable as possible. I also go for the first extended mag just because even with 40 rounds here, I feel like you kind of burn through ammo, and just because there is a bit more recoil here, you're gonna miss a couple of extra shots at random fights and at random distances. So having that bit of a safety net here with a 40 rounder, I think is honestly pretty clutch, all things considered. Ergonomic rear grip on here here as well for a better ADS, slide to fire, and dive to fire, just to keep it a little bit more aggressive with how multiplayer plays this year. However, if you're simply looking for control, you could always, switch that over to a compensator or a ported compensator instead if you're okay with being a little bit slower. Then again, recoil springs for the free control as well. This setup is still decently aggressive, obviously with the help of something like ergonomic, but you also definitely notice the recoil benefits that are presented as well. So this thing ends up being decently easy to use, and like I said, packs a punch. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you enjoy the video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated, helps grow the channel, and share the video around to new viewers. And if you happen to be one of those new viewers, or maybe you haven't subscribed yet, we should change that. Every single day, this is your one-stop shop for everything going on in COD, whether it's multiplayer, Warzone, news, updates, meta breakdowns, it's all here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, join us on the road to 1 million. I'd love to see if we could hit that before the end of the year. Focusing a little bit more on the close range yet again, we've got the Kompakt. This is one of my favorite SMGs in the game. It's just so satisfying to use. Reminds me a ton of like the classic MP5 from maybe MW 2019 or Warzone 1. Feels really good here in multiplayer. One of the best TTKs in the entire weapon class as well. So there's a little bit of recoil here, so I go for the ported compensator. Keeps it easy, keeps it straightforward. Ranger foregrip's going to do more of the same with that horizontal control, but we're also still staying mad aggressive with that sprinting movement speed benefit on there. I actually go for the flip mag here. I've kind of been back and forth. I like the increased reload speed here with this. You're still staying at 30 rounds, which is sufficient for a lot of fights here in multiplayer, but you do have a fast fire rate here. It's over 1,000 RPM. So if you wanted to upgrade to an extended mag 1 and extended mag 2, I get it. That's not a wrong choice by any means. I just personally like the quick reload for my style of play. Plus, I'm typically running this on like small map mosh pit where I don't have time to live long enough to use an extended mag. I get 1 kill and I'm done, or I get 1 kill, reload, and I'm done. When they're spawning 2 feet from me on stakeout, yeah, you get used to reloading quick and just moving on, right? But extended mag is definitely a viable choice there. Ergonomic rear grip, better ADS, slide to fire, dive to fire on there, and then balanced stock yet again for the better movement as well. So this thing is snappy, it's aggressive, quick TTK, love it. Following that, another SMG that I love in multiplayer is the KSV. This thing just feels like it hits. It is a strong SMG, and I'm actually running a gunfighter setup here, so I have 8 attachments equipped on this thing. There is one thing you could switch or alter if you wanted to, but initially, ported compensator yet again for that better control. Base compensator could also be very good as well if you want there. Long barrel in this case. The velocity doesn't matter too much for a lot of the fights you're going to be taking with an SMG, so might as well max out your range with this thing. It's already got a good damage range. We make it even better by throwing the long barrel on there. Ranger foregrip, control, and mobility benefits there. Extended mag 1, 40 rounds works just fine for pretty much every fight you're getting into. Ergonomic rear grip, ADS benefits, slide and dive to fire speed benefits as well. Balanced stock yet again for all the movement benefits. Recoil springs is also super convenient in this situation, again just making the weapon way easier to use. And with all these attachments, we're pretty much able to expand and extend on every major area of focus. And then I just throw on the motion laser on here. It helps out with some of your spread with diving, sliding, jumping. So if you are hip firing and transitioning into an ADS, it'll be a little bit more accurate. I only have this on here because I need an 8th attachment. You could also just use an optic instead of that if you wanted to. I personally like the irons, but you could also be really accurate with a Kepler, with a Merlin Mini, or whatever you might want to throw on there instead. The laser is probably the least necessary, but it's on there because why not? I have the extra attachment and I like the irons. Then after that, I've got the C9, another fantastic SMG. This one is quick, it's easy, very clean iron sights as well, so you don't really have to burn an attachment on an optic in any situation. It's again going to be a super reliable SMG, really good TTK and really good range throughout as well here. So initially, compensator or ported compensator, if you're looking for that first shot recoil or the slightly different pattern there, you can definitely test out between these on pretty much every weapon that we're running this. Try out both, see which one feels the most natural and the easiest for you. I also go for Ranger foregrip, again, control and speed benefits. No extended mag in this case, 30 round works just fine for me because I'm going all in on mobility and control. Ergonomic rear grip, slide to fire, dive to fire, ADS benefits, balance stock, all the movement benefits, and then recoil springs yet again. So we get even more aggressive. That's my huge thing with this. I want to run and gun. I want to fry. I know this thing's going to kill quick up close, so I want to be up close as much as possible. The movement benefits here help out a ton with that, and it maintains its efficiency in terms of accuracy at the same time. Hey everyone, quick reminder, if you're looking to stay hydrated and energized while grinding out Black Ops 6 and Warzone here, look no further than G Fuel. If you're grinding out camos, leveling up, checking out the new season 1 content, whatever the case is, and you're looking to stay energized, G Fuel has you covered with their tubs and their cans. And if you're just simply looking to stay hydrated throughout the day, they've got you covered there as well with their hydration formula. Best of all, regardless of what you're picking up on the G Fuel site, code Immortal has you covered with that nice discount. Toss that in the checkout and save yourself some money. So if you're interested, link for that will be down in the description below. Another gunfighter loadout here. This time we're focusing on the Tanto. I also really enjoy the feel of this thing. It reminds me so much of the Milano from Cold War. Just has that really satisfying feel to it as an SMG just in general here. It's a little bit less forgiving because the rate of fire is a little bit slower than several other options, but we do combat that having the gunfighter wild card on there. So compensator first and foremost, again for the basic control. Reinforced barrel, extending out that range some, also helping out the velocity, will help with that hit reg feel, especially when this thing's got that slower fire rate. Sometimes that can just feel a little bit awkward, so that kind of reinforces that, no pun intended, does help out with the consistency there. I do go for vertical foregrip in this case over Ranger. You could run Ranger, you might notice a slight difference in recoil. I found myself to be doing the best and thriving the most in game though when I was just running straight up vertical foregrip in this case. Extended mag 1, 40 rounds, just a little bit more forgiving. You have a bit more of a safety net there for sure. CQB grip in this case for a better sprint to fire. The ADS is not the fastest, it's a 200, but the sprint to fire is 90. That's real quick, and I really like how snappy that is. For what it's worth though, ergonomic could be really good as well, getting a 165 ADS and a 120 sprint to fire. Definitely feel free to flip-flop back and forth there and see what works well for you. Balance stock once more, motion laser just because we need that 8th attachment. I like the iron, so I'm chilling there. Then I do use rapid fire in this case. Typically I don't run rapid fire just because yes, it hurts the range, it hurts the velo, it hurts the control, but on a weapon like the Tanto, the TTK benefit here, because of that faster fire rate, it becomes more forgiving. When you miss shots, it's okay. You can recenter, you can regain in a gunfight. Without it, you might just be costing yourself the gunfight if you're missing shots with the base fire rate just because it's so slow. So that ends up being really clutch in this specific situation. Now the XMG LMG is surprisingly good here in multiplayer. Yes, it's a little bit slower. I do use gunfighter here as well just to optimize things further and maybe get some more versatility in the setup as opposed to just the standard 5 attachments, but this thing shreds. Initially for an optic, I like the Willis 3 times on here. I like the Jason Armory 2 times, or a Kepler Microflex or even a red dot would work well here as well. Just go for your preference, of course. Compensator for better control, reinforced barrel, better range and better velocity there, so just efficiency in the mid to long range getting even better with that. Ranger foregrip gonna keep us a little bit more agile. Yes, it's an LMG. It's a little bit slower. It's a little bit heavier than pretty much everything else on this list here today. So this will help keep it at least a little bit faster. It's not a ton, but it's something. Fast mag is also going to speed us up a little bit with our ADS and our sprint to fire, and you don't have to spend as much time reloading. You're going to fry through players with this thing with its damage, so 75 rounds is more than enough in most cases. Ergonomic rear grip for a better ADS. We're still sitting at a 393, so I mean, it's not pretty, but it's something you're going to have to learn to live with if you want the power that the XMG offers. Balance stock also helping out the mobility some there. Then I go for the overpressured ammo just for some better velo over range. I think recoil springs is a viable choice here too if you want even more control. I think it's pretty easy to use just to begin with, but that's never a bad choice by any means whatsoever. And then lastly here, I've got the DM10, probably the highest skill gap weapon on the list here today because it is semi-auto, but if you're good with semi-auto guns, this is an incredibly rewarding one. Its TTK is great at all ranges. It is a pretty consistent 2 to 3 shot, it feels like, in a lot of different scenarios here. So again, first up, Kepler Microflexor, whatever optic you want to run. Ported compensator, that first shot recoil control is actually pretty useful on a semi-auto gun, plus just the basic vertical control is useful as well when you are spamming there. Reinforced barrel, extending out that range and that velocity even more, obviously pretty clutch with that. Lightweight handguard, helping out with aiming idle sway. So like recentering and just general sway on a semi-auto gun is super important, and that helping out the most with that is just a huge takeaway and very valuable to the overall setup. Extended mag 1 is the 25 round mag. That works just fine here. You're kind of in control of how fast you're going to burn through that. Ergonomic rear grip for the better ADS mainly is what I'm getting out of that. Balance stock, better movement across the board as always. And then rapid fire yet again. I want to be able to spam this thing as fast as possible, get the absolute best TTK possible by having the best fire rate cap. So that's pretty important on a weapon like this as well. But all that being said, that is effectively the new general Black Ops 6 multiplayer meta. Those are the new top 10 best weapons to be running and the best setups for them. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, be sure to drop a like on it. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications on your way out so you can always guarantee you're in the know for everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.